Today we have a special guest with us. Jeremy is a former member of the World Mission Society Church of God and a leader, I believe, and so he has agreed to come on and talk with us and kind of share a little bit about his story with the church. He was a member of the church and then came out of the church, and so we wanted to sit down and talk with him and just kind of hear a little bit about his story. So welcome, Jeremy. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. It was extremely late notice, so.
Yeah.
What part of the country are you in, anyways?
So now I'm in Chicago. I used to live out in San Diego, California, but now sticking to the Midwest. Super cold.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys know Kansas, right?
Yes.
Yep, Kansas.
This guy, Jesse, is actually, he was in the military in North Dakota for 4 years, I think.
Yeah,
So
don't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no plans to go to North Dakota or anywhere north of here.
So he knows what it is to be cold. So.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we really appreciate you coming on and being willing to share the story. This is we've corresponded a little bit through messages, and I can tell you have a bit of a passion or some sort of energy to make sure people are aware of the deceit, I think, behind this group. And for us, me and Jesse, we're followers of Christ, and so our goal, we kind of share a little bit with you, isn't to, and we always try to tell our viewers this, like we're not out to try to attack and to like hate members of the church or the church itself. We actually do what we do out of love, because we're concerned about, like people who have stories like yours, like you're concerned, who get sucked into this group and don't really know the full story behind what's actually going on in this church and what it's really founded upon. And so again, we say to members of the church listening, we do this out of love for you. We're not trying to hate you or attack your beliefs in God. We actually believe we can help clarify who God really is for you. And so, having said that, Jeremy, let's just go ahead and jump right in. And so kind of take us back, I guess, to what originally brought you into the church. How did you originally get involved and become a member? What brought you to that point?
So when I was, this actually stems back to 2014, and I was in college in San Diego. And I was actually, because I was born in Chicago and then went to college in San Diego, grew up in the church. So I went to a Catholic school, but after I graduated, our school was really corrupt. Pastor was money from the school funds.
Wow.
After that, our other pastor was not doing, a lot of good things to students there. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. Trying to keep it PG. Kind of wanted to stem away from racism. So the next best thing was Christianity. So I went from church to church. I went to the Rock Church. I went to Fellowship of Christian Athletes for our football team. But our guy, our leader was like, yeah, you know how I found God? Because I stopped listening to Tupac, and it was just really weird. Like, some people's like, I don't want to ever criticize beliefs, but I really wanted to, find the truth, I guess you can say, or, really have a good relationship with God. That's all I wanted at that time. And from all those things, I felt like I didn't. But then my friend invited me to the World Mission Society Church of God. And during that time, my sister, the hospital, because she committed suicide. Dad, he was very abusive to us growing up. So at that time, even though he's a sergeant, which probably, they covered up everything they did to us. But at that time, he eventually was arrested and taken away from our house. So I was going, wow, to be honest, that many kids at 18 don't go through. But then when I went to the God, they all were really too nice to me, really nice. And that first Bible study I did, me and my friend that actually, and I was Catholic because my friend told me. Just a side note, before anyone ever comes to the Church of God, like a new member or like a potential new member, they fill out a Bible study card, asking them their name, their background, their race, so that they can fit, whether it's a African American teacher with an African American, white with a white, like that, and or Spanish to Spanish. They study with me prophecy of Daniel chapter 7, and rise and fall of civilizations from Babylon to Media-Persian, Greece, Roman Empire, and then Revelation 13 and 18, how they teach they correlate with one another. And then anyway, they in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, they say that little horn that arises in chapter 7, verse 25, the one that makes war against God's people, the one who changes God's laws for times after time, they say it's the Catholic Church. And then after the fact, they showed me a video called Babylon the Great. That's literally an hour documentary just bashing the Catholic Church through like their idolatry worship, their Sunday worship. And then what else do they do? Cross worship. They were the ones who started the cross, started Sunday service. But actually, Sunday service wasn't started by the Roman Catholic Church.
Right.
Not in 321 AD or 325 AD.
That's right.
They teach. That was actually a problem that had arisen back in the early Christians, if you read a history book. So, but like but anyway, like I mentioned too, they have something called an evidence book, where it's any encyclopedia they'll just put in front of you. They, copies, bands of like pages of specific encyclopedia books. But actually, really, me doing research, I cannot find one record of those evidence books. Those articles that they these books, and I did my own research and found that most of the dates and completely fall from what they. So there's certain articles, certain encyclopedia pages, but they'll say like encyclopedia volumes page 30. But when I Google that same encyclopedia, it's not there.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So again, explain, what are these evidence books exactly?
So, for example, these evidence books are a list of, from chapter 1, it's the Sabbath day, chapter 2, Passover, chapter 3, Easter, then it goes the cross, idolatry, but it's a list of other artifacts outside the Bible. So it's not from the Bible, but it's to show history. For example, the ancient goddess Tammuz, right? So about the history of Tammuz in the Bible through like different encyclopedias, books, religious articles like that. But, they don't bring any sources of the actual book. They just have the evidence book. That's it. So it's let me clarify as easy as I can. So for example, she'd listen to my voice from General Pastor. So yeah, sorry, you guys.
We need that book, buddy.
I'll tell you guys this, but for example, chapters, right? Chapter 1, so on and so forth. The evidence book, the pastor in Korea, General Pastor, he compiled a book, and he took copies, just scanned copies, and put a book together. It's just a list of art from newspapers, encyclopedias, like page shots. So it's not the entire book. Kind of like they do the verse, just pick out one verse and this is it.
Yeah.
But the encyclopedia, or the evidence book, the same thing. But yeah, they have that copy too, and you guys can look at it. But they actually do not to actual history. That's my point.
Okay.
For Daniel chapter 2 and 7, they talk about the 10 kingdoms that rose from Europe. But when you look at those 10 kingdoms, those Heruli, Vandals, and Ostrogoths that they teach, the 3 that were destroyed. But Ostrogoths was not destroyed in 538 AD. It was actually after the fact. So their prophecy doesn't add up from 538 to 1798, according to Daniel's prophecy of the Roman Catholic Church. It does not add up.
Okay.
So that's my point. The evidence book is false. It doesn't. If you do your own research, you'll see.
So this is all stuff that they pretty quickly started showing you, well, how long were you a member before you started coming across all these things?
So what the thing is? Actually, I came across. To answer your question first, I was a member for 4 years.
Okay.
I was baptized years old, and I left when I was 23. But when I started to ask questions, it was when I became a leader. Because, we're always taught things like, when you come in, know about the Bible. I want to open up a book from you. That's just, being honest, it's more true. it's the Catholic Church, and we didn't really go to church all the time. So but they unloaded on it right away. So opened up Daniel chapter 2, had me read verse 1 through about Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Then they skip all the way to verse 17 to 21, and they talk about no one was able to interpret the dream besides Daniel. And then they go to verse 31 through 36, talking about the gold statue with the head, silver with the arms, bronze with thighs, and then the iron with legs. Yeah. And then the 10 toes, partly brittle, partly strong of iron. And they open up the evidence book with the exact picture of the statue. So a picture of the evidence book goes, the head gold, silver, and it was just like a big looking guy. I don't know where my evidence book is now, but I'll send it to you guys, and you guys can literally see for yourself.
So you're saying so what you're saying then is that later on you took that evidence book and you actually compared it to his history, and you found that it didn't line up. Is that correct? Because
they give the book to the leaders, actually. I have like leaders, whether you're unit leader, group leader, you're allowed evidence book. Just members that come in, they don't give them the evidence book anymore. And I believe it started to happen around 2000, right around when I was baptized and introduced to the church. Whether it was the 12 hints, which honestly I've heard about it. I was not prior to 2012, but 2014 with the evidence book, it's just group leaders, pastors, and the dates don't add up. If you put, they don't add up.
Okay.
Honestly, it's crazy when you look at it. And personally, I started to recognize these things when I started to go through their pastoral program. So they took from each major city, LA, Denver, New York, Miami, Chicago, and there's groups of 10 people at each city for their pastoral program to become a deacon, missionary, so on and so forth. And the homework was to actually read the Bible and write down what questions you have chapter to chapter. And then afterwards, right, what did you learn most about this chapter, blah, blah, blah. So the questions I wrote down that I asked, they would get mad at me. They would legitimately get mad.
Okay.
And,
so when you would have questions, about things that they weren't making sense to you, you're saying you would ask questions and they get angry that you were asking.
They said, read Father's book. It's not in Father's book. The green book, Through God, The Spring of the Water of Life by Ahnsahnghong. It's not in that book. I've read it. And can you directly what this answer? And nothing.
Okay.
Why are you doubting?
Okay. So can you kind of articulate what were some of the doubts, the major doubts? Can you remember any specific questions that you would ask?
Pull time on my phone now. Let me pull up.
Okay.
Gmail. Actually, I emailed the pastor when I was not disrespectfully at all, but just letting him know it wasn't for me anymore. Even pull up that email, letting him know why I didn't want to go in.
Okay.
But hang on one second.
Okay. Yep.
I'll pull up the questions first, and then kind of that email words too.
Okay.
But these I remember one of the brothers was just it was in downtown Chicago, and he let it off on me. Why are you asking these questions? You should know this by now. You doubting? Read Father's book again? And I'm like, brother, I'm asking you the question. Just answer. You know what I mean? Not perfect. We're all human.
Hey, so while you're looking for it, I did have a question. I've heard a couple ex-members say that they were never, if they ever tried to go off by themselves at the church to read, especially when they were new, they would come and sit with them. And basically he said he felt like he finally realized they never wanted him reading alone. And he felt like they didn't want him coming to his own conclusions. Is that true? I've heard that from two different people.
So repeat again. I heard that they wouldn't let him, they wouldn't sit alone. But what'd you say right after that?
Yeah, especially brand new people. He said they didn't want him reading alone.
No, they were all accompanied by.
Here, say that part again. The answer you're skipping.
Peter, any new member that was baptized, they were never allowed to be alone. If they were left alone, then the rebuke means is, I'm pretty sure you guys know, but you would get yelled at. Seriously, our pastor, I don't want to get like sued or something from so I'm not going to mention names.
Yeah, don't say names.
But yeah,
Thank you.
but anyway, even in group leader meetings, they left a sour tongue in my mouth every single time because our pastor would be yelling at sister members for not taking care of the fruit because they didn't show up one Sabbath day. So why? Well, you're not feeding them the proper food at the proper time, sister. Do you want to go to heaven? Do you want to make sure she goes to heaven? You need to do a better job. Legitimately yelling. And another time, there's this one brother for a preaching meeting, and this was when I was kind of new, maybe a year and a half. And this one during the meeting yawned. It was 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, about to go preach at the mall, and the pastor just slammed what do you call that?
Pulpit podium.
Pulpit. There we go. And slammed on it and yelling at the top of this lungs. I'm not even kidding.
Saying don't yawn.
100%. Go ahead.
He was saying don't yawn.
Yeah, people early in the morning we spent 14 a paper. People are gonna be tired on a Sunday morning.
Yep.
Oh. It's
okay.
Being 100% honest, and actually, even Matt in Chicago will know that this story is true, and they'll start laughing at it because that specific brother, he's a funny kid. Honestly, he's a really funny guy. But at the end of the day, it's they really don't treat people that well, to be honest. The new members, don't leave them alone. Feed them the proper food, the proper time. Go visit them. If they don't show up to one of the services, go there. Is you hear me?
We can hear you.
Sorry.
Your screen went black.
You guys hear me really quick?
Yep.
Okay. I think it's because I was getting too many messages at once.
Oh, okay.
So I'm swiping up. I was trying to get the messages away.
Yep.
Too popular.
But what I mentioned was they never let new members sit alone. That is a big no-no.
Okay.
And also,
that's good to know.
Where I came from, that actually didn't sit well with me at all. This was another reason why. Because they started to categorize bad brothers versus good brothers. Literally judgmental going inside the church. I'm not even kidding. They're don't hang out with those. Those are bad brothers. They're not going to heaven. But it's wait a minute. Teach that and it's the Passover, the kingdom of heaven. So how are you going to say that not going to go to heaven? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So
that's interesting. That's for us. That's revealing because in our just we're coming at them really arguing against what they're doing from the Bible, and so much of what you're saying, some of what Jesus says is that you will know them by their fruits.
Yeah.
And when you see the kind of fruits that you're talking about, and that's not to say that there's not weakness and error and in me even and Jesse and in Christians, but that's an issue. The things you're talking about, those are big deals, and the I've never heard that. It's very significant coming from a former member that they really use heaven and hell as a scare tactic,
it is.
To keep control. It sounds like if you don't stay under the control and don't stay in line with what we want you to do, if you don't follow the program, we're going to consistently threaten you with hell. And man, that's. I would say again to any World Mission Society member listening or anybody that's not the gospel. Yeah. The gospel doesn't leave you in fear and doubt about whether you're in good standing with God. That's not the gospel. So that's very revealing, Jeremy.
It's really just terrible, to be honest. And I didn't like it at all. And it's just and especially one time because I didn't really get with the deep there. This is another. I can go teachings biblically on align with their teachings, but I'm just talking about really what made me leap too. The new deacon came, a little bit of background. Even when I was in the church, I was at Orange Theory Fitness. It was a pre-sale, so I was working at corporate, hiring staff, handling the business side of things. So I always had to deal with numbers and reporting. But when this new deacon came from California to Chicago. Tell me if this is anything biblical at all. So they started each month keeping records of attendance, and all the leaders had to report with one another for our groups to see if members came 12 plus times a month, 4 plus times a month, or at least one time a month. And if you come at least one time a month, then you're going to heaven. And 4 times a month, then you get like a star in heaven. 12 times a month, you're, you know, what's it called? There's some with the fruit. I know it's bearing fruit, but like talent. There we go. Yeah. Bearing 10 talents. It's like someone that tithes, comes, and preaches. So, yeah, that's like the rule system. So if your group wasn't coming previous month, then you got rebuked and first labeled as someone with faith. Because your group isn't coming as much, that means that they're wrong with you.
Wow.
Not kidding. I'm not even doing that.
Yep.
This is business. Like, legitimately, how we keep track of month to month, that's sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, using goals for how many come. Okay, we need this 6 group.
Yep.
What's that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
so I think
that
to answer your question, that's not biblical.
No,
I mean,
no.
What do you have? That's a good place to share thoughts about what. I mean.
Yeah, I just think it's not biblical. That's not a true regeneration. True follower of Jesus is going to want to show up, right? Is going to want to be in community. Is going to want to go out. But if you're doing it strictly out of, oh gosh, I got to get that 4+ this month, man. Or I gotta get that 12+. It's like that's literally trying to.
It's my 4+.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally trying to. You're getting the approval of man, and in Galatians, Paul says, if you're a servant of Christ, you don't care about the approval of man. So
and to put it just blatantly clear is that the Bible never talks about in the New Testament, like church attendance. Like the closest thing you can get to is Hebrews, where the writer of Hebrews says to don't neglect gathering together. But that's not because your attendance of church is like somehow making you a better person or more righteous before God. He's just saying stay with other believers to stay encouraged. Stay around other believers who can keep you encouraged in your faith and built up and help you press on. And when you're struggling with something, can help you. So he's not saying it like as a warning, like if you don't go to church this X amount of times, then you're going to be lower on the scale of saved people. That's
biblical hermeneutics too, because that's going off of Proverbs that's saying, if somebody who gives themselves to be reclusive also gives themselves up to all types of desires. Yeah. So that's it. It's not to get your 4+, but it's because you need community, because Satan is prowling around and the temptation is real.
Yep.
But,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's in that same deacon we didn't see eye to eye. Every meeting he would be talking about members' faith and don't study with this member anymore. They're not gonna come around. So that's another thing too. Sorry, that just like brought me back. If someone wasn't like a gospel warrior right away, I guess you can say, they didn't spend as much time with that person, so they would neglect. And which really made me like bothered was they had something called a oh my gosh, the apple of your eye. There we go. It was the apple of your eye. Me and choose one member in your group. If you teach them everything you want, not everything, you make them a gospel warrior like. So no matter who else in that group, if someone has bad faith, don't worry about them as much, but worry about fruit that has to become a teacher or I guess you can.
Okay,
find your star student. You're saying basically you were told find the star student in your group and focus on that person, teach them everything. Don't waste your time on ones that seem like they struggle in faith. Or is that what you're implying?
That's not me. That's of the church. Oh, wow. Yeah. To pick out an apple of the eye. This is like
so that's what that means, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, they call it the apple of the eye.
So it's kind of like the apple of the eye. So kind of like a survival of the fittest type thing.
Pretty much, right?
Wow.
That's
that's amazing.
Find that one member that has the potential to be great, a gospel worker that can lead others, and then stick at one. That's it. And
wow.
Don't worry about taking care of, because in my unit in Chicago, I had like 24 members to take care of, and then I would get yelled at all the time if one didn't show up.
Yeah.
And honestly,
hey.
I never felt right to pressure someone coming. If someone didn't want to come,
right.
Well, it's funny to hear. No, you're good. It's funny to hear that though, because literally, he had said it earlier. When I was in the military, that's literally how the military operates. The sergeants are in charge of multiple, soldiers under him, and when they didn't show up, they got yelled at. So I'm hearing you use the language that I heard when I was in the military for what is supposed to be the Church of God. Like, it's just amazing to me that it's lining up. Like, it sounds exactly the same. It sounds stressful.
Well, also because of that, a lot of the pastors, actually, they were military. In Korea, you have to serve 2 years in the military. It's mandatory. So, literally,
wow.
That's why they also say military. That's one of their biggest things. Like online, they say focus on. That's not true. The only thing they say is preach the homeless. That's it. And I have you get on my notes. Actual Bible, not to the homeless people. Legitimately.
What? Say that again.
Say that one more time.
So they taught that we should not preach to homeless people. Don't bring homeless people to the church. Don't preach to them.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because they should be able to take care of themselves, have a job, be able to, afford themselves to get to church.
That sounds like Jesus.
Wait, go ahead.
I'm just saying that does not sound like Jesus at all.
Yeah.
I know.
I have.
And even too, one time, the same deacon said that I wasn't a true brother because I did not say bye to him one night. But I was driving literally 3 other sisters and my wife home that same exact, and it's a 40 drive. So sorry it is time, but that's I said they're you, and they just talk down to you. And personally, I don't like that, especially church. I'm God. With God, and also a loving feeling and like a joy. But for time, it's not. And also, I have some of the questions. Not to mention that we've been talking.
Oh yeah, the email.
I have some of the questions that I wrote down.
Yep.
If you guys want to hear some of these.
One thing I want to, before I definitely want to hear those, but I have 1 Thessalonians 5:14 pulled up where Paul says, admonish those who are idle, encourage the faint-hearted, and then he says, help the weak. Be patient with them all. So it just sounds like, and I don't want to, I think it would be a bit unfair to throw in the entire organization of World Mission Society Church of God and say every single church, like that wouldn't necessarily be honest for us to say, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We're not necessarily saying that this is the experience of every member, but it's significant that this was your experience.
Yeah.
And so, we can clearly know that not preaching to the homeless and disregarding those who are weaker in the faith and slower to get it, like that is just like Jesse said, like that's just not Jesus at all.
Yeah, and also kind of piggybacking on that too about helping the weak. God Center, that's mostly for the main church is about 45 suburbs. But we have a lot of students in the city of Chicago. But when it came to situations, they're not encouraging giving at all. So if you didn't have a job, you had to find your. If you continue getting a ride else, they would say, hey, brother, going to carry you to heaven. You don't want all the way here. You don't. Your blessing, like that. No kidding.
Did you?
Yeah. So you're saying that they would basically get after people even if they didn't. They wouldn't encourage to give to people who didn't have a job, and if they kept getting rides, they'd say things such as, "All right, is your brother going to carry you to heaven?" Wow.
We got our kids.
That's okay, man. I love kids.
Kids
so
banging
good.
on the door. So.
They're good.
Well, let's go ahead and hear some of those questions that you have, and maybe that email. Let's go ahead and hear that part.
So the questions I have, how many questions are here? 9. Okay, so the first one was about King David. So King David, they teach that in 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 4, he was anointed at age 30. He was reigned for 40 years. And they'll take you to the book of Luke. Wait, can you guys hear me? It just went black.
Yep,
we hear you.
Okay, so they will say, then they'll take you to Luke. Baptized at age 30 until age 30 to, sit on David's throne. Actually, when you get the historical of the Old Testament, what was so significant at the age of 30 years old? the priest would wait to the age of 30 in order to teach in the synagogue, and that custom. So Jesus, he didn't wait because of David's throne till some prophecy for 37 years. He waited because that was to become a custom to speak in the temple. Jesus was 8 years old prior to the temple, right?
Yep.
But he had come. But he had to wait till age 30. I mean, I don't know if that's right, but that's where I come from.
Nope, you're right, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but when I mentioned about King David never celebrated the Passover. I don't know if you guys know that. So, King David, he never celebrated the Passover. If you look in the Old Testament, actually, even though God loved King David, and honestly, King David, great, right? And
man after God's own heart.
He never celebrated the Passover. And if you look in 2 Chronicles chapter 30, from the time of Hezekiah, like King Hezekiah was the one who restored the Passover during that Old Testament time. King David never celebrated the Passover. So I asked them, okay, so if you guys, relate King David and Jesus with one another, and Jesus is King David, how come King David didn't celebrate the Passover? Does he not go to heaven now?
Interesting.
No answer.
Well, no answer?
That's the point behind it. Go ahead.
No answer? You didn't get anything back?
Nothing. That was the question. Why does it matter? Testament.
Why does it matter?
So,
wow. So
teaching people.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, that's just, people respond that way when they don't want to think about what they're actually believing. They want to just be able to continue on in the lifestyle they're in, the system they're in. They don't want to have to think about whether or not it actually lines up with the facts.
Yeah.
And it just sounded like you weren't willing to do that. And that's just not a healthy way to live your life, really.
No, and that's why I got out, and it was, I couldn't do it anymore. I woke up and I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
So maybe we should hear
because personally,
when you came
I was somebody that wanted facts shown in front of me. At first, when I was just a member, learning everything, that's not what I thought I was getting. Until I started to read the Bible for myself, seeing what was written in there, instead of, they give you 5 sermon books with 10 lessons in each. You know how they flip from one verse to the other, and they tell you what it means. So that's why I figured it meant. Another question that I asked, besides King David, was about baptism. This really, really bothered me so much because there was even a legal incident that happened in Wisconsin that I was sent to. And I'll cover the thing. And you guys can Google it, even find it for yourself too. So for baptism, I asked them, it's in the Bible, the apostles, Christ, and the New Testament, that they kept the Passover with bread and wine even after baptism, like the churches. Because the Church of God, the World Mission Society Church of God, teach that immediately baptism, you take Passover, which kind of themselves, they say Passover once a year, monthful, that's one. But there's one special regulation that God wrote, where as soon as you are allowed to take the Passover. So when you're baptized in the Church of God, you are baptized with water after you take the Passover. Did you guys know that before or no?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, that's the teaching. So, but there's nowhere. I asked that question when they were baptized. It was always baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. They were baptized like the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts chapter. Right? There's this water. What's stopping me from being baptized?
Yes.
Did Philip have bread and wine on him? No, he didn't. There's no record of that.
Philip floated away.
I'm just like.
So okay, so
anyway.
you were breaking up a little bit there. Did you get?
So you were saying, just to clarify, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys now.
Okay, just to clarify, you were saying what bothered you about baptism was that they were teaching that right after somebody in the church is baptized, you immediately have bread and wine for the Passover, and they would say that was biblical. You were confused because you said you didn't see anywhere where that happened, and obviously the Ethiopian getting baptized and then Philip just disappears. Obviously it says nothing about him then taking bread and wine. So what did they, as you asked that, what was their response?
That's an Ahnsahnghong. Father came and taught he is also new regulation.
Okay.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's their justification for a lot of things actually.
Okay. Yep.
But some interesting back to like the baptism thing that Bob bought, and after this, and I left about 3 weeks later because anyway, my brother, he's on the SWAT team down in Florida. I have a lot of family that's like in the police business, I guess you can say. So the pastor in Chicago got a call from the Wisconsin Police Department about 5 hours north and wanted me and then 2 other deacons to go up and talk to them because there were, some of our members got in trouble for preaching up in that area. But our pastor told me, he goes, yeah, before you go, Jeremy, they were being persecuted. You know how the truth is. You know what they would probably tell me, kind of warm me up before going. When we actually get to the police department, they have evidence where this I didn't sit well with me at all, and this will never sit well with me. But they were offering kids like, another kid called the police because at the age of 18 years old, and they were preaching the Bible, and they were pressuring people to come into their minivan, as them in the back of their minivan. So that's how this whole relation came about the illegal sex trafficking. If you Google, it's not true. There's no such sex trafficking in omission system of God.
Yep.
But that was the reality of all. Yeah. So I, like me and 2 other deacons, the ones that were sent up there, clear up the air. But honestly, what they told, they were saying we're inviting people to come minivans to baptize them, offering kids wine. With, of course, the bread and wine of the Passover. And I just, it didn't sit well with me at all. And the cops were like, just let us know. If you guys want to preach, just let us know. Communicate with us. But it's always secretive with them. Always a spoonful. They don't give you all the information right up front. It's all like, they will never come up to you and say, believe in Ahnsahnghong and God the Mother, you'll be saved. Never. But Jesus, 2,000 years ago, believe in the name of Jesus Christ, you'll be saved. So what's the difference, right? So that being said, that didn't sit well with me. And when I came back and reported it to pastor, I told him this is what happened, and and I told him what the police reported to me. And he immediately got on the phone with the missionary who was leading that short-term trip to rebuke him. He was like yelling in Korean. I didn't know what he was saying, but he was upset. He said, we don't do that. We don't baptize in mini. I don't know if it was just that specific branch that was doing it, but anyway, that's what the police reported, and it was so after people come in their minis.
Yep, that's interesting. There's actually been a bit of an ordeal here in we're around the Wichita, Kansas area, and so
Wichita State.
Yeah, so Wichita.
Are you guys by Benedictine? Is that by Benedictine? Kansas. Benedictine College.
Say that one more time. Benedict.
Benedictine. Is that by?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard of that actually, but
anyway.
the Wichita State University campus. So they have Church of God members going and preaching to students, and I'm not sure what really caused it, but I know they had a very similar thing to where it kind of came up in the news that students started reporting them all over the place, and they thought it was involved with linked to sex trafficking stuff, and so. They have been getting a pretty bad rap in that area, and I think, like you said, that isn't true about the church. So that part we can clear up.
No,
none of that is true, and even from our experience with them, we know that's not what they're. As far as I know, there's no involvement in that at all.
No, none. There's none. So even when that came out, I kind of just laughed at it, but at the same time, it's like when it gets to that point, you have to be doing something to scare people off, and that's what I realized. Especially when when I was, and when told me no, just left it at that. I was never the person that just hounded them. I was like, all right, here, just give us a shot. That's it. Your guys is on there, and that was hilarious. But that's what they do. They'll try to reroute the question, and well, do you keep service? Do you Easter? Do you keep Christmas?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just ask you a question. I answered your question respectfully. Can you answer mine now before we move on? After that same question, and then you'll see them get so mad. And but the point is, we don't, believe in God. It should never get to that point where we're so angry and worked up when preaching the Word of God. But obviously, that's a problem if that is. And that's go ahead.
I have a question for you. So would you say to anybody who's watching this, who's either run into them, who they're starting to meet with them, would you confidently say that whoever they're talking to, whatever those members are, they have been taught a certain set of what they're supposed to say, like a script and teaching? It's not of their own studies. It's the church showed them everything, so everything they're saying is something they've said to somebody else in a way.
Yes.
Okay.
It's through the course 1 through course 5 books.
Yeah.
And then there's also a book of countermeasures. So if someone brings up Colossians 2:16, how to rebuttal against that? Romans 14:5, or rebuttal against that? Galatians.
That's funny, man.
16 or something. And then what there? This is 126, Revelation 18, the double brides. But I had God the Mother too, that I asked them, because they always, she's testified from the end. I said, okay, show me in the book that Job limitations have to Jude, show me anywhere God the Mother's testified in those books.
Yeah,
because they say she's testified from the beginning time. But they show 3 verses. Genesis 1:20.
Yeah.
Revelation 17, 21, 19, 7, and then Galatians 4:26.
Yeah.
But when you look at Galatians 4:26, they claim that mother is in Korea, that she was the heavenly Jerusalem that came down.
Right.
But according to Galatians and actually their teachings, Sarah, she's considered the heavenly Jerusalem. But if the new Jerusalem is in Korea, then has she married her son? These are the questions you need to think about.
Yes.
Because the reason for that is Isaac is the son of Sarah, and Isaac is also Christ, according to Galatians 3:16.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying? So did mother marry Christ, her son?
Yes.
So
well, that's
questions.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I've never seen that issue from that angle of Galatians. I've always seen it from the angle of, Jesus is the Son of God, and Mother obviously is Mother God, and so we have Mother God marrying Son of God, and so I've always seen that issue from that angle. In Revelation we have the Son of God marrying Mother God, and so I've always seen it from that weirdness from that angle. But it's interesting that even in Galatians it presents that issue in a different way.
Yeah, it's very clear, and they also teach that Ahnsahnghong is Isaac. Like, Jesus is Isaac, Ahnsahnghong is Isaac. Like, it's just crazy.
Interesting. So if Sarah is obviously in Galatians that symbol of heavenly Jerusalem, then Mother God married her son Isaac. Very strange.
Then explain that to me.
Yeah.
I explain that. And no explanation.
Yeah, and that should just be that. I mean, that is just a clear evidence that the way they are handling the Bible is just very dishonest. It's not correct. They're not actually trying to look into the text and see what is Paul actually trying to communicate. When he brings up Sarah as an illustration of heavenly Jerusalem, is he really trying to teach us about this mysterious second God that exists, God the Mother? Is that really what he's trying to get at? And when you start to put these things together, it starts to become clear, no, that was not Paul's point at all.
Yeah.
No. And even with the baptisms, like the 3 names, they teach in chapter 20, 18 through 20, they teach the correct baptize in the name of Father Jehovah, the name of the Son Jesus, and the name of the Holy Spirit on home.
Yeah.
They say, look, that does name. Other's not a name. Son's name. Holy Spirit's not a name. Each kept that. But funny enough, actually look back in history, most people don't know, like in regards to his doctrines, Matthew was originally written before to Greek. And in the original Hebrew text, Jesus mentioned 3 names. The apostles set the example by baptizing people in the name of Jesus Christ, right? So that's the importance, right? Believe in Jesus, be baptized in Jesus, accept Jesus in your heart. But they're so literal, down to the T. No, name has to be Jehovah, Jesus, and Ahnsahnghong.
Well, to fit their teachings.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
A lot of people that have questions, and they're always just shut down, by the pastor, group leader, whoever it may be. And like you said, it's just a scare tactic to, for people to go to heaven.
Yeah.
And and from me, since leaving the church, I can tell you it wasn't easy. Now I'm diagnosed with PTSD, extreme anxiety, and smiling depression. So these are all things that happen after the church. But at the same time, I don't feel bad for myself, but now I have my own business. I'm really happy. So I would never be able to do the things I'm doing now, being in the church.
Yeah.
Being happy, traveling as much as I can. That's another thing you can't do if you're in the church. You cannot travel because you have to report for every Tuesday, every Saturday at church.
Yep. And you said
I gave up a football career for this church too.
Oh.
So don't make you guys give up. They'll make people give up things that they love, the church.
Okay.
So stinks.
So you said you were married?
Yes.
Are you still married?
I'm still married. Yes.
Awesome. Did you get married before or after being in the church?
I'm married after. Church.
After. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
I'd like to, if you could talk about what was the transition when you decided, you were asking the questions, they weren't answering, and you just decided, that's it, I'm done. I'm curious, how was that relationship with the church? How did that go down?
So, kind of read off this shortly, but when I emailed the pastor, actually, they were trying to send me to New York for about a week without asking my permission. They bought me a plane ticket because my faith was weakening to study for 14 hours in a church. But I have work, I have a job. I can't just go, to New York and study the Bible and just, revive my faith. But anyway, as soon as I emailed the pastor, I said, let's see. I was like, thanks for, I said, first off, Pastor, I just want to say I no longer wish to attend the church anymore. Some things that I shared that I would like to share with you are, one, coming home during the week, really, since 4 a.m., I try to bed at an early time. Downtown, we'll have meetings at 9:30 a.m., and they will not get done till 11 p.m. And in addition, most sisters take the public transit home, so they're not getting home till midnight. And then this one sister takes public CTA at 10:30, takes her hour to get home, and the bus doesn't go that. Personally, those meetings are bad. Make a comment saying that I'm not part of it because I say bye to them one day. Also, with church events, I chose to go visit my grandma. I was leaving for California for months, and I got rebuked for it, saying that I need to choose church over family. Family's always second, church is first. Literally, I have this email, I'll forward it to Pastor, acknowledge that, he'll talk to the deacon who said that, and 15 other in that meeting when that went down. And then New York trip, I didn't want to go. As soon as I emailed him, that same night, they tried to visit my house. So I got a knock on the door, I didn't answer. Wasn't answering anyone's calls. For about 2 months, I was getting blown up every day from members even in my unit. Didn't reply. One person I went to high school with that was currently going, tried to reach out, ask them why I didn't want to go anymore. I said, honestly, it's better we don't talk about that. Other people I reached out to that I did bring in the church, I kind of share my experience. They no longer go. But honestly, they tried to contact me up until the Passover. And when I did not go to the Passover this past year, they just haven't contacted me since. Because they know, that I started to, respond to people's questions. Because they monitor that.
Yeah.
Every day. So.
Yep. Wow. Man,
when was the Passover? I wonder if that's...
Yeah, when is the Passover? Is that on a specific date?
It's other changes. So, it's typically first month, 14th day at twilight, according to the Hebrew calendar. But the only one is Pastor M. Pastor is his heavenly mother. I don't know if you guys knew that. So we got this brown book, the one you do videos, General Pastor, his mom is a mother. I don't know if you guys knew that mother had kids either. And her kids are also, one in New York, he's a big company leader. So these are other things I found out after I left, not when I was involved in the church.
Wow.
But this is actually factual. So there's a company that he runs, and all the money actually that the tithes and offerings go to, they actually go to this company in Korea that is ran by these pastors. and Mother, she's the leader on the seat of the We Love You Foundation. But at the end of the day, it's all like corrupt. And they're suing ex-members for speaking out, which is also against the Bible. Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians said, "Let the church stay out of all government affairs." Well, when it comes to the lawsuits, right?
Yeah.
But why are they attacking members and suing them? Hours.
Yeah.
For just saying something on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's a huge red flag to me.
Wow.
And that's facts. Like, literally Google these court documents suing members. So when it's just too much for, but that's why. Just
wow.
It's trafficking ring. They're all going to a company and
So how many kids does she have?
I believe 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
My son also had kids too, and he was married. His kids don't second coming Christ. His kids, they say Lord, he's not second coming Christ. Ahnsahnghong has kids too.
Yep.
Mother and Ahnsahnghong were not married on this earth either. And Mother, she's divorced. She's divorced.
Yeah.
So, and how does the church deal with that? We were reading that Christ Ahnsahnghong never even claimed to be Christ, and he also through some of his writings had an issue when a lady was claiming to be Mother Jerusalem. How did they tell you to deal with questions like that, or did they even?
So with Ahnsahnghong never claiming to be the Christ, they will say Jesus did the same thing, and they'll show you Matthew chapter 16 verse 19 when it's either 16:19 or 19:16 where Peter said like, "You are the Son of Man," and then Jesus warned him not to tell anyone he was the Christ. So they will say, "Look, Jesus did the same thing with Peter and his apostles. Ahnsahnghong let his disciples know he was the Christ. At that time, it wasn't the right time to reveal." That's what it said. But when other question was Ahnsahnghong, there was no mother. Was that your second question?
That he has there's writings from Ahnsahnghong, and he was irritated with a woman that was claiming to be Mother Jerusalem, and he rebuked it.
He read that book after the church because they made that book accessible to any of the members.
Wow.
Do you have that book?
I read that. Yeah, I read that. Did you guys not read it?
We haven't read it. We want to get a hold of it, but it's very hard.
I can send you a. Yeah.
So you have that book.
That's great.
That'll be a digital copy, so that won't be a hard copy.
Okay.
That's all a digital copy.
Okay.
All the other books, you have to be required to get certain books. So you have to be, going for 6 months in order to even get access to the library.
Wow. So that was the library we saw on there. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, or they call it the bookstore.
Yeah.
You go downstairs. Like they even have, I pulled like even this so people know I went here. There's like the CDs that they have, collections, their books, their new song book that they sing and everything.
Okay.
They will say about Mother, about Ahnsahnghong writing about Mother. They said it was not the right time to be revealed. Just like Jesus. Now I remember. They will say Jesus called Peter Satan. Do you remember that? Get away.
Yeah,
from
get
Satan.
behind me, Satan. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, but that doesn't mean that Peter went to hell, and it doesn't mean Jesus. That was Satan the whole time. But the thing is, I would. Then why is it recorded in the Bible? Why is it recorded? Why was it not taken? Just like Ahnsahnghong took the false mother. You know what I mean? So if calling Peter Satan, their argument is that Ahnsahnghong in that book, right? He took away about the false woman, the mother of God. It's the case that in Jesus' way, calling Peter the devil from the. How come that's still recorded there? But Ahnsahnghong, we don't have access to him not calling mother. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Right.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
That's my point. Like that's what they will say. They'll say, he called Peter Satan, but that's not the case. And same thing.
Wow.
But,
Okay.
Personally, that's like no, that means nothing. To be honest, like that still doesn't answer the question.
It doesn't answer the question at all.
No.
Yes.
If you read his book and what he said about Mother, even in his preface, he says,
this
is great for you guys. This is in the preface of that book you guys will read. He even states that there is no teachings in the Church of God now or in the future. Like literally says these teachings will never change. There will never be So he even said, in the days to come, meaning the future.
Yeah.
So, like, that's what system. And they have and members, I would say maybe a handful of members have read that book.
Yeah. They try to suppress it and hide it, right? Wow.
And even tell members that book is available. They don't tell. So in the list of Ahnsahnghong books that they will give you, there is Mystery of God, Spring of the Water of Life, Explanations of the Trinity, Law of Moses, Law of Christ. There's also Old Testament, and then Last Plagues in the 6 books. And they don't mention at all of the New Jerusalem and the book that they took away. They don't mention that to members, right? At all.
That's interesting. If you have an entire book written by your Christ, you would think you would want the members to see it, and like whatever it says, like this is his words. Let's just let them see it, whatever the consequences are. This is the words. That's just it's just the whole thing is built on fear. You can just, I mean, why would the leaders need to keep that hidden unless they are aware this thing is built on lies and deceit, and we got to keep it covered up. So
and also in his green book, Ahnsahnghong, The Mystery of God and Spring of the Water of Life, that's been changed I think 5 times now. There's 5 volumes.
Really?
So if that was truly God, why would we be changing God's words? First off, and then second, this is even in his he wrote the 44,000. That is a literal number, and you won't find a true church in glorious all around the world be not looking worn down church like that. When you look at the Church of God, they're all over the place. And then also on 2, if you guys see me, I just did a great the background again. Can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, you're just breaking up a bit.
Okay, cool. But the members now, there's 2 million members or so. The expectation about the 4,000, they'll just say great multitude, afterwards. But none of the members are sure that they're going to heaven because of this point reward system. You need to bear fruit. You need to tithe. You need to offer. You need to have certain amount of talents. There's so much more after the fact. Thursday worship on Tuesday, Saturday service. And also the third day teaching was changed when I was there too. I brought that up to them as well. But what can you do?
Man, sitting here hearing your story, I just I really feel a lot of compassion for you, and just like a frustration that you had to go through that, and I feel like I just want to apologize for them for that that you had to experience those 4 years like that. And man, what a terrible way to defame the truth of the Bible. And so I guess saying that, what I would want to ask you is, what would you say to members who are still in the church?
So I would say, well, first of all, they're to be told to me because I've been denied.
So you couldn't tell them right now anyways.
Sorry, but for members who are still there, I would say read the first, before reading the sermon book, read the Bible. So read Genesis to Revelation, write down anything that you have, and then address any questions you have from Genesis to Revelation, even if it takes a while. It doesn't have to take a day, 2 days, but really start reading the Bible for yourself and writing questions down, whether it's the book of Numbers, Exodus, from Matthew, Mark. Any questions you have, just write down, and then go to your group leader and ask. That's it. And then look at their reaction. If they tell you to read Father's book, they don't know the answer. If they tell you, just believe, brother, why you ask these questions, you lacking faith, they don't know the answer. Then that raises red flags. That may not be the truth. So that's just my experience, and I would want to tell them that too. I think that's the fairest way. It's like not bashing anybody. It's just read it for yourself. Don't go through the sermon books, the 5 sermon books where they give you the meaning of it. Read the Bible for yourself and ask your questions.
That's good. I like that answer. And there's, we don't, as Christians, we don't claim to have all the answers. But one thing we're we feel confident enough, and even like the historical accuracy of who Jesus is and the resurrection and the truth of what the Bible says, that if somebody comes, and I've told members this, I think I said this in the audio of the members I talked to, I told them, like, if you come to me and ask me a question that you think there's an issue with what I'm believing and the Bible doesn't support it, and you come and say, well, what do you do with this? Like, I'll either stop and listen and answer it in the most honest and truthful way I can, or if I don't know, I'm going to say, I don't know. Like, I that's a really good question. I really don't know the answer to that, but I'll go away and I'll look into it and I'll find an answer for you. And so I feel like that's an honest way to handle those questions. We're humans. We don't have to know all the answers to everything, and it's okay to say, I don't know. But if you really believe what you're believing in, you shouldn't just say, well, just, that's not a big deal, brother. Just go on and believe. Like, I don't think anywhere in the Bible God ever or Jesus ever encourages somebody to have that sort of faith. He never encourages somebody to have a blind faith. He says, believe because of what I'm doing. Look at the miracles. Look, I'm proving this to you. Like, if you don't believe because what I'm saying, believe the works I'm doing. Yeah. He never just says, oh, why are you asking these silly questions? Like, don't doubt. Just go away and believe. Like, Jesus never had that attitude. The Apostle Paul and the apostles never had that mentality.
Told you to test everything.
They said, go. The Bereans went away and they tested what Paul said with the scriptures. And when Paul would testify and Peter would testify in the book of Acts, you see them always referring back to the proof of the resurrection. They'd say these things weren't done in secret. Like, Jesus didn't just go away and hide and do some miraculous thing and then just expect you to believe it because he said it. He did it in public. Like, all the things he did in public. And so when Peter and the apostles would preach, they'd say, you Jews, you know what happened. Like, we don't have to sit and tell you what happened with the Jesus dying and the miracles he did. Like, you saw it. Like, and if you didn't see it, go and ask somebody else who did, most likely your grandma, And so the Bible never, I'm kind of addressing this to members. I would say the Bible never asks you to have a blind faith that says, just don't worry about your doubts. If there's something that doesn't seem to make sense, just forget about it. Like, who can live that way? Like God didn't make our minds to live that way. He gave us minds that think and are able to understand contradictions. And God is not a God of contradictions. He's a God of order. And the Bible does provide answers to questions. And so, if I love that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, and I guess my questions were more because the more time I got into, and I would also encourage just exactly what you just said for the new people, especially, or members that were recently just baptized. Don't let them steer away from your question, because that's what's going to happen. Yeah. If that can happen, if you ask them and that they don't know, they'll steer the away and say, "We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll study that later. Okay, we're going to work through this first." Let that happen. Really, get your answer. That's another. Seriously, it might not come off of it because they'll play it off. Hey, we'll do that later.
Yep.
And then
yes, that's definitely happened to us. Multiple times, I think. Where we present a clear question that should be able to be given an answer to, and it's always put off. Like, come to a study with us, and all these things will become clear later. Yeah. So.
That's not good. Just answer the question.
So another one, a couple more questions, and then we'll let you sleep. I guess if
you're good, man.
Your bedtime's 12, then you got a while.
Still got an hour and a half, man.
Hour and a half till 12, man.
Yeah. So, I guess my next question would be, what would you say? So there's a lot of people that are getting sucked into this still that haven't yet joined, right? So if you can go back to you before you joined, and you're in that time of you're needing support, you're just right in the prime time to where a group of people who's supporting and kind could just very easily suck you in. What would you say to anybody who, whatever their situation is, who's being approached by these people and is thinking, man, these people, they have the Bible, they're showing me things I've never seen. I think I might want to join them. What would you say to those people?
I would ask right away, what are the requirements. You know, what am I expecting after I become a member? You know, straightforward. What's expected of me after I become a member? Because they're not going to tell you that you need to wake up at 5 a.m. and report at 8 p.m. during the feast time of the Feast of Pentecost and the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Trumpets. They're not going to tell you you need to come to all 7 feasts every third day, every Sabbath day, or you're going to go to hell. They don't tell you that you need to tithe 10% of your earnings, plus offerings, plus love offerings, plus donations. Plus, on top of that, they don't tell you. Sorry, I'm like rambling on.
No, it's good.
My point is to legitimately ask, what is expected of me? And don't wait for, you'll find out. Because when you're studying with them, like, it's great, right? You're treated like, you know, over friendly, I guess you could say. Like, food's being brought to you, everyone's coming and saying hello, asking about you. You know how to make people feel really good. You know? And that's because of the pastors, they'll always pair certain brothers with, like I mentioned, a Bible study card that comes to, for example, a college person that I was assigned this other brother, any African American that came was assigned to them. Hispanic, assigned to them, so on and so forth. Know how to make you feel good. So I would just say, let's expect a church, and on top of that too, I would do your research. Google the church. Yep. Just Google, and then to them, everything you find on, ask them the questions. And if there's true and false online, always is going to be, but most of the stuff that's on there is, I would say about 80 to 85% true. Is this that website, Exposing the World Mission Society Church of God? That's about 85% true of stuff that's on there. So I don't know if you guys have heard of that website before.
I think I've come across it, but never spent a lot of time looking at anything on there. So
it's, so I would just do your research before, and that's anything, right? Before you, you know, go on vacation, before you join a group, anything, you do your research. The same thing, do your research. I just never expected to have to Google a church. You know what I mean? I never thought that because I grew up in a church, and then, I don't know, guess it just slipped my mind. But if I was back in that time, I would say Google the church and then ask what's expected, you know. Now they have people sign groups before they are baptized or agree to fill out a form and signature, and you have that permission to baptize.
Okay. So even on their tax documents, they say that baptized in the name of Jesus, we believe in Jesus, we are saved by the name of Jesus. About Ahnsahnghong and the IRS tax documents. A lot of stuff with little big red flags. So ask questions, and I think that's a really fair, unbiased way to encourage people coming into the churches. The thing is, when these missionaries are out on the streets and they grab you and they start, they just flood you with scriptures and they're jumping all over the place, and we've said this before in prior videos, it really is, in our experience, it's like gymnastics. Like, they almost make you dizzy. Even us who, like, we love the Bible, we're guys who just love reading the Bible, and we sat down with them for one of the first times for a Bible study, and they're just flipping all over the place, where it's like, maybe there is a mother God, I don't know, like, who am I? And but it's just so they're just so well, they're very good. They're very good. They have their arguments well thought out, well planned out, and they know exactly. They just have them well memorized. But the thing is like the proverb says, like the one who gives the first argument, you know, he always seems to be right until the second guy gives his argument. And so, like, don't. Like, kind of what you're saying is, like, go away from that. You know, you might be tempted to join the church because whatever they've just told you seems very convincing, but go away and hear the other side. Like, what is the other side saying? What the people who are just sincerely, they love the Bible, they love God too, they love Jesus too. Why is it that they are not accepting this group, and this group is seen by Christianity as a whole, pretty much, fundamental Christianity, as a cult? It's just, this is a cult. And so why, just go and ask that question. Why is it that people are not accepting these guys? And so, again, I think that's a fair and a good encouragement to anybody considering going into the church. So
it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have Do you have?
No, I think that's really good. I was thinking as you guys were talking about that, I was thinking in my head that like even when you're like gonna go to a college or you're gonna hire a plumber or something, you look up the reviews, right? You look up because I think even as we study like theology or whatever, and you're talking stuff that has to do with doctrine, and there's different views. I always like to hear what's the view I most align with, but then I want to hear the bad things about that view, the problems with that view. And I think I would just say to people watching, you would do that if you were going to go to college, if you were going to hire somebody, if you're going to use a company, you'd most likely Google their reviews. You'd see, okay, maybe there's something bad about them though, I should look it up. So when it's coming to your eternal salvation, I would encourage you to Google it and to, like you said, I agree.
Yeah,
that's very smart. And my thing that we just recently met with some guys, and my thing is just, if you are truly the church of Yahweh, if you're his people, then what you have and what you're telling me will stand the test. Like, you shouldn't be afraid for me to ask you questions, and you shouldn't be afraid to then with the questions you don't know, study it. And so I would encourage people when you're asking them questions and they seem concerned, or like you said, they brush it off, I would encourage you to even say things like that. If this is the real thing, if this is divine from the Lord, we should want to test it because we know it's true. So I just would say that's the first check. And you said that earlier. That should cause concern.
And we shouldn't be afraid to test it.
You shouldn't be afraid to test it.
If you know this is true, then why are you so afraid that you got to just kind of push it under the carpet and let's just forget that that's even there.
We were talking earlier and we were saying how I think it was Charles Spurgeon said that about the Bible. I don't need to defend the Bible. The Bible's like a lion. I can just open the gate and let it defend itself. And so I'd say that's the same deal. It can defend itself. You don't have to defend it, so you should be allowed to then test it. And whenever any member, Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, whenever anybody gets uneasy because you're asking too many questions, that should cause concern right away.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I think this would be fun. The last thing there.
Last thing. So we got one last question for you, and this is a little bit more personal, but we're just more curious. You kind of this whole story with you started out with, it sounded like kind of a journey of trying to find God in a way, and you were trying to find you talked about going into the church, and even it kind of led you into it, and it sounds like in a lot of ways your genuine pursuit, journey seeking God in some way even led you out of it in a certain way, because this obviously wasn't God, and so you're not going to stay there. So tell us where are you at now with that? Where have you gotten at this point? Did that kind of just push you away from the thought of even
100%? So it has to do with sorry to cut you off right there too.
Nope, you're good.
But it's one, it has to do with even the Catholic Church, like, even, one of my teammates from high school, he was, doing stuff with this priest, and this priest was actually, like, doing a lot of stuff to these kids, to the point where he actually hanged himself in our chapel, like, in our school chapel. And, the other priest, he's driving around this red Ferrari, and, like, he just unbelievable amounts of money. And they finally, like, stealing, just, like, two nuts, who gambling, taking $500,000 to casinos, like when I look at that, from my experiences, and then with the World Mission Society Church of God, it's you're going through therapy and being close with all this. I became a work man, which is not good either. It's not good. Just take away anything else. So past few months, I've been just traveling, working, and that's it. And I even told because my mom, my mom, she doesn't go to church that much, goes every Sunday. But at the end of the day, I know that, I want to go back to church, but just, within 1 year, it's just too soon. You know what I mean? I'm just my trust level is so down that I want to be able to, first fix myself to get better, and then look back into it. Because I want my kids to at least grow up in a church, and to at least get because it was good, the morality behind it, the stories, and even being a good person to each other. Like when I have kids, I want them to grow up in a church too, just not a cult. You know what I mean? So that's why I just want to be sure that the church that I find is like a good one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But for right now, I'm just so burnt out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like of just so much.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now.
Well,
it stinks because literally for born was in God, and now like there, or why would this happen to me?
Yeah.
Things, you know what I'm saying?
I can't, man. I'll just say like our hearts are with you. Like I truly just feel like it just.
I want to hug you.
Yeah. I hate so much that's been your experience. And so, it's like, it's hard to, I don't want to come across as preachy, but all I want to do is encourage you is that, first off, what you've experienced, those things, that's man. Like, you've experienced the worst of what man has to offer. Yeah. And I think you're smart enough to know this. Like, that's not a... if we've already been talking about, that's not a representation of Jesus, right? I mean, like, you can pick up the Bible and know, man, these guys, they don't know him. They would not be doing these things if they know him. And so, like, man, I think just take pressure off of yourself, and it's in probably a lot of ways you have. Like, I think God sees you, he sees you, he sees your heart pursuing him, and he sees, not only that, but he sees the crap you've had to go through in your pursuit and all the crap that's been in your way, and he sees that, and he's not a World Mission Society member who's watching you saying, oh, he's not going to church. Let's mark that on his resume, and so I just, as you were talking, I had Acts 17 come to my mind where he says, it says, from one man God made every nation of men to inhabit the whole earth, and he determined their appointed times and boundaries. God intended that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. And so I'm just thinking, like even the pressure of, like, I got to get back into church. Like, I'm not saying don't go to church, but I'm just saying God's not far from any of us, is what Paul's saying. Like, he's put you, as crazy as it is, I even believe, like, the terrible circumstances you've had to go through. Like, for some reason, I think he's allowed that, because I think when you find him, he's going to use that in some way in your life to be able to love other people, to be able to relate to other people. And so he says that, right? He says he determined you, Jeremy, your appointed time, where you're going to live, when you're going to live, and what's going to happen to you. He allows those things. You know the story of Joseph. Like, he allowed that to happen to all those terrible, those unjust things. He got thrown in prison, and he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But it says what the enemy intended for evil, God intended for good. And I think you have a heart that's reaching out for him. And so I just encourage you to keep doing that. And he'll lead you in the truth. He'll honor that. So again, man,
I hope so, man. Like I mentioned, I just love working with like kids, athletes, and
awesome.
All that. Like I mentioned before, like all athletes, they turn to God in good times, bad times. And all of them always give glory to God, so it's always still in the back of my mind, man.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's cool.
It's gonna come back, dude.
Yep.
But
get
right on the track,
Yeah. I just say thanks for doing this, and everything you've been through. It's cool to then see the joy that you still have, and I know you're still fighting through stuff, and you're dealing with things because of this. But I'm just encouraged by the joy that you have, and I agree. I think the joy you're showing and the concern and care enough to do this, this video, this audio is really going to affect probably a lot of people who are in it or who are being drawn to it. And so thank you for doing this. And this is, I know this is going to be effective.
Yes. Thank you so much. I totally agree. To have, it's, when you have a couple guys like us, Christian guys, most members just see that and they just disregard it, or they watch it so they can just attack and threaten us with hell, and we get that all the time. But to see a former member who is a leader, that's another level of they need to pay attention to that. And so thank you.
So I was a leader of the North Chicago region. So
okay. I was going to ask you that.
So if they want to ask, they can ask me questions.
Oh, and I would think you showed the books and the CD, so that's enough proof that you got that stuff too. Yeah.
So thank you again. Thanks so much for doing this, Jeremy.
Thanks, guys.
Dude.
I'm sure
thanks for having me.
Yes. Hopefully we'll stay in touch in some form. So
yeah.
Yeah, reach out. I think we're friends on Facebook now. Just whatever. And, yeah, I sent over like the books and material. Just remind me. I'll give you that. I'll send over that too of the Ahnsahnghong book.
That'd be great.
You guys can take a look again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys.
Okay.
Awesome.
I gotta eat some dinner.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks, Jeremy. See ya.
Good night.
Night.
Happy New Year, Dan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Happy New Year.
You too.
See you, man.